Good morning, everyone. So, friends, today we have with us Miss Arpita Kalanuria. Arpita ma'am is an entrepreneur, has a good interest in history. She also the managing director of Apple Pack India, which focuses on reducing the usage of plastics in packaging. Today, she is going to help us understand how to adapt sustainability, sustainable lifestyle by overcoming the polluting lifestyle challenges. We are very thankful that Arpita ma'am has joined us today to share with us the Vedic roots of sustainability. And now I request everyone else except Arpita ma'am to go on mute so that ma'am can start her session. Also, I request everyone to ask their doubt only in the chat box.
Hi all, good morning. Thanks for joining at 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning. It's very kind of you. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So my journey began with discovering that there are so many chemicals in the foods that we eat, and the journey started with actually what we eat and understanding that how organic farming is so much better and produce from organic farms is so much better than the regularly available fruits and vegetables nowadays. So and from there the food shifted from what I'm wearing to what products are we using on, like, for personal care, for home care, what are we cleaning with. So I started questioning everything, and that's when I realized that this is not the lifestyle that I want to lead, and I want to make an effort to reduce the chemical waste that we produce, or using chemicals on your body, or eating chemically laden fruits and artificially ripened fruits. So that's the basic part of it. But I want to I'll just start sharing my screen, and then I'll run you through the journey of my discovery. Can everybody see the screen? Or
not yet.
okay, just a minute.
Yeah, we can see now.
Okay, now you can see the presentation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my discovery led me to questioning how I can reduce plastic waste from packaging in all the products that we use. Today, when you go to a supermarket or a grocery store, whatever products that you're ordering, it's creating a lot of plastic waste, and there is a lot of awareness in consumers today, but you don't have a choice. So that led me to researching on what did we do 10 years ago, what did we do 30 years ago when plastic wasn't in the scene, what did we do then? And then I realized that it was all reusable packaging. There were smaller stores. We were all connected in a better way, in those terms that we supported local artisans, we supported local farmers, and it was a very local system. And of course, globalization is fantastic, and it has added a lot of productivity to our lives and comfort. Back then was much more in sync with nature, much more friendly. We worshipped nature. That is there. I think we all know in our culture. How we worship the rivers, the mountains, the seas, the oceans, and that all comes from the Ved. So when I then that was the revelation point actually, that I said I was only going back 100 years, 200 years. Then I realized that we're so fortunate, born in this country, and to be having a culture. And if I don't know if everybody is up to date with the new studies that have been published in the last 10 years, which all, I think about 10 to 12 sciences, and when you corroborate that data and the studies that have been published, the Rig Ved was probably written in 24,000 plus years ago. I think Nilesh Oakji, is the famous historian who's been putting out the data, and he's been working a lot on timelining our culture, starting with Rig Ved to Ramayana to Mahabharata. Now we have a date. If you go and watch the debates online, I'm sure many of you must have already watched. You have an interest in all of these things. You must know that. So Rig Ved was written 24,000 plus years ago. Ramayana happened. It was not an epic. It's not it's not a mythological story. It actually happened. It's even the geological data from the river basins. It tells you that now the new science says that Saraswati River existed and when it existed. So now Ramayana has been dated to 7,000 years ago. 14,000 years ago, and Mahabharata actually happened 7,000 years ago. So these are the things. I mean, to be honest, I'm just starting this discovery myself, and it absolutely amazed me that when you look around, everything, around you, it all began thousands of years ago. And would you believe that? Would you believe that even in the Rig Ved, there's a mention of there's a liquid that Indra is drinking, and that is in a metal bowl. It actually says that. So can you imagine the ancient history that we are coming from, and that we have, fortunate that we have it preserved. I mean, tell me, where else in the world do you have a culture where you have preserved, written, history of such beautiful texts that are not only scientific. I mean, we knew about the shape of the Earth, we knew about the solar system, we knew about how the universe began. And this is not just a story. It is, you can calculate it. There are calculations. You can, with the stars and with the new computerized systems where you can actually recreate planetary movements to thousands of years ago. I mean, we're discovering it now, but these were written, encoded, like that's encrypting back then, 24,000 years ago. So I was just in shock and awe. And so I'll just go a little forward. So this is the Bhumi Suktam from the Atharva Veda again. So, Bhumi Suktam is a piece dedicated to the planet and Mother Earth. And it talks about pretty much everything. If you look at the all four of the texts combined with the hundreds of other scriptures, we have botany, we have, there is no science that is not covered in ancient Indian literature. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, that environment protection and worship, they form an important part. That's how we begin. That's how we lived. Even in the Harappan civilization, now that they have found, there were sewage systems, but even back then, the sewage outflow from the wastewater basically used to go in a pit. It wouldn't go and mix with the rivers, or it wouldn't go into the ocean. So that was a very, very, very strict rule that we had followed for so many decades, thousands of years, that we knew that we're not supposed to mix wastewater and fresh water. That was ancient knowledge that we inherently had. And of course, when the British invented the modern and current plumbing system, that is when things started getting really messed up. And I'm not recommending that we should have an outdoor washrooms today. So please don't think that everything back then is applicable today. But the idea is to get as much as we can and implement it in our lifestyle today. We can't change the way we live. We can't change all of these things, but there are lots of things that we can adapt from the way, which I have been doing for a long time. I didn't even know that at that time that it was so Vedic and so ancient. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, that Nilesh Oakji, he's timeline the entire history, Indian civilization. He calls it the Indic Renaissance that's happening right now, because the youth of the country, when there is, a maximum percentage of youth in any nation. Any trouble? I can hear some disturbance. Okay, so I'll continue. So when you have maximum number of youth, the energy is very high, and if you would have noticed, there's a lot of resurgence of all the ancient texts, and a lot of the people learning Sanskrit. It has increased multifold. There is an awareness of all the issues that India faces today with the forced conversions and all of these things. I mean, there are so many things, and to be honest, if you look at all of our texts, it's, you would not describe it as any religion. It's definitely there's a super, there are gods, and we talk about that in synchronization with the universe. So but there is a huge acceptance also, right? It's the most open religion, because you don't have to be a practicing Sanatani. There is no strict rules. You can have your own lifestyle and still glorify the science, glorify the text, and still be able to read. There is no restriction for anybody to not read our text, and it's basically a very practical and open and enlightening kind of a culture that we have. So there you go. You must have read this. So I'm working in the field of sustainability, where I have been for the last 5 years, because we've been developing metal-based packaging with current technology. So we're blending technology and tradition, and we're creating large-scale systems where your FMCG products will all be packaged in metal, where you can buy a metal container, your favorite shampoo in a container, bring it back home, and return it or get it picked up, and then we reuse it, not recycle. So we sterilize, we wash it, and we reuse those containers. So we're implementing this in India in a big way, and there are many sectors that we're working in. But my point is that because I'm in this sector and I have been for the past 5 years, I have sustainability is my passion, and all of these concepts that you see on your screen, everything it has a direct reference in our scriptures. So today I go out in the world. India seems to be the nation which is coming up in sustainability, but we need to make more of a voice that sustainability comes from here. So that is a very important part that of the work that I'm doing, that I want to make sure to tell the whole world that this is very, very much Indian. This is our culture. Organic farming, we were the ones to write. There are so many texts, the Rishi, so all of these things, they come from ours, right? Like at the sewage system, the town planning, we have it. We have charts that were made that have been preserved, fortunately. So I think you've read this.
No, we just got on. It was very difficult. There was lots of things on the chat. I couldn't do it on my phone. I didn't have the link.
Hello? So you can see these also, and you can see the references that I've put in. These are just a few. I have a list of, one day I just sat and, my team and I, we decided that we're going to understand how deep this goes, how far do we go in all the terms in sustainability. So these are just a few, like vegan, vegetarian. These are mentions of I will send you guys I've made a emailer for later. If anybody wants to follow up on all the things that I'm talking about and wants to read up more and, discover more, then I'm just I'll send that to you. So sustainable packaging was something that was very close to me. So it's in the Kaushitaki Brahman, in the Rig Veda. It's amazing, the connection. So now that was the ancient text, and now we'll come to what we can do practically to adapt all of those qualities in today's world. Okay, so first is organic, seasonal, local fruits, vegetables. That's the easiest thing. That's the easiest step you can take. The first switch always has to be organic and seasonal. That's very important. But when you go for organic, it's usually seasonal because it's coming from the close by farms. And if you can Google it. You can find out on Facebook groups. In all the cities now in India, you can find a farm close to you. So if you're connected with a farm, it's much easier. It breaks the barrier because if you can connect your friends. So I have a group of people over here. So initially, when I started ordering from the farms, I got in touch with the farmer. I got in touch with a few friends of mine who were also interested, and we together would call for bulk. So once a week, the fruits, vegetables, even grains, oils. I mean, now slowly I've completely transformed it. So we have a farmer who's in near Pune. He has an organic, the whole town pretty much has organic farming. They've kept the practice alive since many years, and of course you have to check all of these things out. So sometimes you have already certified products available in organic, and otherwise you can connect with the farm and you can make a trip to the farm and figure it out for yourself. I was lucky enough, I had a friend, the entire family moved from Bombay to a farm to resurrect organic farming in Maharashtra, because they realized that this was the last generation of farmers who knew organic farming, the parents. So if that knowledge is lost, it's a generational loss. It's very huge. So they actually moved out from a city life to a farm to do this. So in Maharashtra, they've been doing a lot of work, and it's fantastic. I mean, not everybody can do that. We all have our lives to lead, but it was very interesting. So once you've done that, and I've written phase out over here because it's not something you can do overnight. We're so used to the comfort and it's so easy to if you're not in charge of ordering also, the grains and everything in your house, it's just so much easier someone else doing it. But if you make that little effort, like it happens on WhatsApp, it's that easy. You can pay online. You can help your farmer. Like, so I've helped this farmer out, create a payment link, and get a Paytm account. It's simple. It just doesn't take much time, and it's easy for them. And they have a livelihood, and it's direct to customers, so it's cheaper for you. So when you switch to any kind of organic lifestyle and all of these things, it is a bit more expensive. So it is 20-30% more expensive. So yes, it takes time, but it's all right. So the next, after you've perfected, take about 3-4 months and get used to ordering vegetables and fruits differently. Then you can move to stone ground flours. So what happens with stone ground flours is that when you're having your regular chakki atta, which is the machine, the electronic machine, it heats up a lot. So all your nutrients, the nutrient loss is very severe in the modern machines. And what happens when the stone ground flours is that it's done very slowly. So slow food is very important. It's not only slow food in making or cooking, it's everything. So it grows slowly without chemicals. It gets processed slowly in a very traditional way. So stone ground flour, and you will taste the difference. You just try, so try slowly. Try one grain at a time. Try atta, then go to all of your other flours that you would use not so regularly, and then switch your rice, switch your other grains. So do that as a second step. So then you have 30% of 40% of your ingredients, 50% of them probably covered. Next, you move to cold pressed wood churned oil. Again, same concept. You can switch to sesame oil, groundnut oil. There are so many. You can also, even olive oil. I use a lot of olive oil, and coconut oil, cold pressed coconut oil. I survive, with all of these things. I don't go for the regular refined oils. Again, refined oils are made in huge factories with the temperatures of the seeds and grains, being so high that again there's a huge amount of nutrient loss, taste loss. Like if there's no smell in a refined oil, in a regular Saffola, whatever brand it is, I don't mean to. We still use them for frying sometimes because it's much easier to fry and refine, because you're used to it. Because cold press oil also takes time to get used to. It's very flavorful, so you have to use less of it. It's very the strength is a lot, so, and you can't heat it to a very high flame. So you need to train if you're not cooking yourself. You have to make sure all of those nitty-gritties. You get used to training your staff, training people around you, whoever's in charge of the kitchen, to get used to that kind of stuff. Next, because vegan, I'm mostly vegan. I'll explain why mostly later. But you can switch to A2 milk products. That is the, again, if you're having dairy, please don't have the regular milk. The kind of hormones that are fed to the cows, and these are not. So I'll give you the difference. I'm sure most of you know about this, but the Indian cows, Indian cow breeds, the milk is the nutrition quality is completely different from the Jersey cow milk or the regular imported cow milk that you get in almost everywhere. I would say 90% is that, right? All your Amuls, all your Tetra Packs, all your packet milk, the ones packaged in plastic. So everything is the imported cow milk. And although that cow seems to have a higher output, and that is why the green revolution happened, but it really killed the indigenous cow breeds, which if you test the protein, it's different. So A2 milk has a protein that's digestible, and the Jersey cow milk doesn't. So that creates a lot of hormonal imbalances in our bodies, and you can get all kinds of skin issues and stomach issues. Like I couldn't digest it after a point of time. I wasn't having that much milk anyway, but still I realized that when I cut down all of these things, the number of chemicals that get cut down from your diet, you just feel different. It's very hard to go back to. I've been doing this for about 5-6 years, so for me it's a way of life. But if you're just starting out, start slowly, so you'll notice a difference. So 3 months, you can do this over a period of a year. It'll take you a lot of time to get used to, but it's worth it. It's worth the effort. And this is the rule, 70%. So don't aim to go all out. It's not possible. It's just not possible. You don't want to be, worrying when you're traveling. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go out to a restaurant and not have the kind of food that, you usually eat at home. I love eating at home because my food is, planned so carefully. But, even if you're going out, and if you have a lifestyle that you have to eat out after Corona, that's over and we're all out again. So be relaxed. It's not going to be so easy to switch to it. And it's okay if you do 70%. Everything that you're following out of these things, that's okay. If you don't have, after a point of time, if you run out of something, you are going to buy it from a general store. It's not possible that you can maintain your house so well and keep supplies, so well. It's not possible. So 70% is good. Start with 20, 30, 40, and then 70%, you're good. Okay. So now we've forgotten this art of soaking dal and rice overnight. So, most of us, like the dal chawal and, vegetables and rotis, that's the general diet, right? So, but just notice the difference. Just try it today if you can. Whoever's in charge of the cooking, make sure that they soak the dal and rice. Plan it ahead. What are you going to have tomorrow? Plan it today. Make sure it's soaked and then let them cook with it. It's very easy to cook these dals and even the rice. It takes less energy when you're cooking it because it's already pre-cooked, pre-soaked, so it's softened. So it takes much less time, and the nutrients are preserved much better. So when you just throw in the dals and all the pulses, the nutrients don't get time to be absorbed, and it's just you'll taste the difference and you will know. So if you can do it tonight and try tomorrow, it'll be just notice it. And of course, you sprout as much as you can, whatever whole grains you have. And vegetables, I eat a lot of salads. I actually start my day with salad. I love it. But doesn't matter, even if you're having it once a day with lunch in a smaller quantity initially, it's all right. All your vegetables, and I'm only talking about fruits and vegetables because I'm vegan. You might have a different choice, and that's okay. And you can eat whatever. That's your personal choice. But I'm talking about what I know. So vegetables have a dominating nutrient when you cook them in different ways. So if you're grilling one vegetable a certain way, it'll have a different dominating nutrient. And if you I won't talk about frying, but when you steam it or you make it into a sabzi, it's or if you eat it raw, all 4 ways have different dominating nutrients. So it's better to try and keep alternating. For cooking, please completely avoid aluminium and Teflon, non-stick, whatever it is called, because that has so aluminium is plain toxic. It's a slow poison. It's terrible for your body, and you'll notice the difference when you start. Over a period of 6 months, you'll be able to notice that there are a lot of issues that you might be noticing with your body, which totally disappear. So, and especially with sour foods, aluminium reacts immediately. So if you're cooking like a dal with tomatoes in aluminium, it's the worst thing you can do for your body. Teflon is plastic. So the coating on it's aluminum beneath, and on top there's a thick plastic coating. It's basically petroleum based. Again, a terrible choice. It's just terrible. Even the fumes are dangerous to inhale. So if you can quit the aluminum and the Teflon non-stick, that you can just do that immediately. What you can opt for is cast iron, stainless steel, and earthen pots. I'll come to earthen pots last. Cast iron is very easy. Cast iron, you can get it online. And if you can buy cast iron from the non-Amazons, because they will have a better variety. There are a lot of local companies that have come online now. And they have some beautiful varieties of all kinds of cast iron. So there are pans, there are those paniyaram pans, and whatever you need. I mean, any thickness, any variety, and this will last you generations. So, and it's not expensive also. So this you can do very easily. Stainless steel, when you buy, you have to be careful. It has to be thick bottomed, otherwise all your foods will be. And stainless steel is not actually very great when it's thin for the oils, any tarkas or anything, because it heats up too much. Earthen pots are the most fantastic thing that you will try. If you cook in an earthen pot, whatever cuisine it is, doesn't matter. It's just it's incredible, because the taste, it just brings out the taste in everything. So to use an earthen pot, you have to soak it. I'll give you the details also. I'll email it later, but you have to soak it for 24 hours, then oil it, then keep it for an hour, then again warm it up a bit on the gas or in an oven, so the oils get soaked in, and then again repeat that for 3 days, that process. So it takes a week to cure the earthen pot, but when it's done and you start cooking with it, then it doesn't break also very easily, and it just changes the flavor of food completely. Okay, so pulses and grains with skins, that's the first thing. So all your pulses, all your grains are polished because it's just for eye appeal. It's just so that it looks very appealing. It is not the correct way to do it, because when you have unpolished grains and whole grains, the nutrition is in the skin. So just to make it very appealing and shiny and fresh looking, it's been skinned and all the important parts have been taken out. So try and skip to that and switch to whole grains, and don't only have one kind of flour, like in a roti. You don't have to have wheat flour only. You can try all kinds of flours, and you can add vegetables in your grain, in your rotis, if you like that, or in any vegetable, even in dals, you can add more vegetables. So in your diet, if you are a vegetarian, if you have 70% fruits and vegetables and 30% grains, it changes, it reduces bloating, it reduces a lot of things. I started noticing that I've developed pollution-related asthma, slight mild asthma. But when I skip grains and I'm having only fruits and vegetables mostly, it just makes a world of a difference. I don't need to worry about it at all for weeks. Then, because I'm vegan, I can share recipes also, and there are lots of links available online. If you want to move from the regular cheeses, again, all your cheese, your processed cheese is made with the milk that is from the imported cows, and they have been, there's so much issue with the way they are raised, those cows, the calves being taken away, and they have so many physical issues, the cows, because they have machines attached to them. They've literally lived their lives on a roller where they're just milked all day. It's very sad. Artificial insemination. So again, hormones injected and fed to them, which obviously transfers from the milk to the cheese and to all of these things, and these things create so all of these bulk chemicals together create a lot of complications in your body. So if you can slowly start switching from all of this to alternate nowadays you get vegan cheeses online also very easily, but you can make it at home also again very easy. So then your dominating ingredients will be flax seeds, nuts, and aquafaba, which is the water from boiled chickpeas. So very easy to make again, and that can replace your eggs in cakes and stuff also if you're baking at home. If not, but my point is that it's very easy to order. If you don't want to make, and if it's not that kind of, if that's not your deal, it doesn't matter. You can order, but you can try and switch to all of this. And I think 2 years ago, one of the family doctors, she introduced us to fasting, and from then on, it's become a regular. So my routine is basically at 10 o'clock in the morning or between 10 and 12 breakfast, and a small meal like fruit, and a small meal at around 2 or 3, and just a coffee and a snack at 5, and that's it, done. I don't eat usually. Timing. Okay, next. Once you've done all of this, once you've switched your vegetables and grains and oils, and which is the maximum, then you can come to the smaller things. Or if you can start with the smaller things, doesn't matter. You can start with that. So your salt. I've quit iodized salt. I know there's a lot of conflicting reviews about iodine and fluoride, but I don't know. I haven't noticed any deficiency or anything without them. Fluoride I'm talking about in toothpaste, and iodine and salt. So I've switched to rock salt, black salt, kala namak, senda namak. There are so many options, but table salt is something that I've quit for. That's been a while now, 5-6 years. Sugar, I don't think I've had a spoon of sugar unless it's like occasionally for dessert, which you don't find. But I like coconut sugar. I used to use jaggery powder also, but that also I'm okay without. So or you can do jaggery powder and coconut sugar all mixed, and the glycemic index is very low, so it's very good for diabetics, and it's very good because sugar is it just feeds cells to grow hyper, in a hyper way. So quitting sugar is very, very important. White refined sugar I'm talking about. And sprout everything possible, and have sprouts also in different ways. Have them raw and have them boiled or as dals or whatever, however you like it, but have them in different ways. And we already spoke about this, eating varieties. So again, your tulsi, beej, sabza or chia seeds, whatever you call it, these superfoods you must include. So at breakfast, if you can have a slice of coconut, sesame you can add to your dressings, you can add to even Indian food in sabzis and dals, you can add sesame in anything, and chia seed. So that you must have, the sabza, chia seed, whatever you call it. You don't have to opt for the expensive imported chia seeds because that's not the doesn't make a difference. You can have your sabza, which is available at a local grocery store. It's actually more nutritious because it's the local variety. So must include, and berries, fantastic nutrition from berries, and fruits. I love fruits. Like I have at least 40% of my diet is fruits. Okay. Once you've changed your kitchen and your cooking and your foods and everything, which is the biggest deal, it'll take you at least 2 years. At least it took me 2 years that time. And earlier there weren't so many options. Now in the last 2 years, I think there are so many options for organic and alternative, foods and, personal care. So now it's very easy. I started when these companies were just entered the market. I found I like the Indian toothpaste. I like to support Indian companies. So Vico or any other Miswak, there are so many of the Indian ones. And also I like to avoid fluoride in the toothpaste. So I don't use the regular toothpaste. And I found this amazing tooth powder, but I don't use it as tooth powder, more like a tooth polish once in a while, from a farm close by. So it's dung ash and some other natural things which they make your teeth shine, and it's a natural polishing thing. Once a month is also all right. Now hair care, I also use the regular, all your brands, TRESemmé or whatever is available in general stores. And I tried the most expensive hair care also shampoos, but the same issue was persistent, which was dandruff. And if you start treating your hair chemically, or you blow dry your hair a lot, or whatever, you maybe do all kinds of treatments, your scalp gets really affected. So I switched to this. In Bombay, I have the resources for all of these things. It's a herbal shampoo with the Rita, blah, all the herbs, and a herbal conditioner, leave-in conditioner. And for making your hair shiny and like a serum, I discovered that argan oil is the best. Men and women, it's fantastic. You need to use like a drop of argan oil, and just make sure it's on damp hair. You can spread it, and it works better than anything, any leave-in conditioner. Even if you're doing your hair later on, it doesn't matter. The oil works like a serum because it's a thick variety. Skin care, I've stopped using all the lotions and any regular skin care that's available in the market. I've discovered that this organic extra virgin, it doesn't have to be organic as long as it's extra virgin coconut oil, because the extra virgin cold press doesn't smell like your regular coconut oil. It has a very mild, beautiful smell. It doesn't have a pungent odor. So you can leave it on as a body, lotion, after you showered on damp skin. It's the best body lotion, and you won't feel like your skin is dry. It's well conditioned, and it removes stains also. If you have any marks on your body, it gets rid of that. And for sweaty areas, I find this talcum-free powder and lavender oil. It works best. I mean, there is nothing better. I haven't had any issue. I've had days, out all day. I didn't bother. I didn't need anything else. So if you simplify all of these things and you use natural products, because the talcum-free is made from arrowroot powder, arrowroot, then comes to home care. In home care, you have so many brands. If there's a website called Q-Trove that has all kinds of products, it has laundry, it has everything, basically all products available which are made from natural, like soap nuts, which is the Rita. And you can use, I'll come to the next section. So first, if you can get this done, like you can get chemicals out of your toothpaste, your hair care, your body care, and soaps, and everything handmade, those are very easily available. Been there for a long time. So if then first you do personal care, next you do home care. You switch your home care and you switch to natural options. You'll notice that that's a huge difference again. And nowadays everything is pretty readily available, like I said. And Q-Trove, I'll send you the name of the website if you don't have it already. Bioenzymes and soap nuts. So once you've done chemical-free packaged products, once you've made that switch, and it'll take you a while, if you're more inclined to get rid of even more packaging and make a little bit of an effort, or if you have help people basically who can help you do all of this stuff, which is very easy to do, but I'll explain. Bioenzyme is really easy. You have to collect peels, lemon peels, collect them in the refrigerator, keep them refrigerated for 2 weeks, add water, add yeast, and basically it starts fermenting and creates natural cleaners, the citric natural citric cleaner, and that you can use for multiple surfaces. Like you can use it, for mopping. You can use it for, your dishes in combination with soap nuts. Soap nuts are again the cheapest thing that you can find, and the most effective. They don't, leach chemicals into the water system, and it's just so much more organic, and it just takes the stress off, the whole chemical thing so much that you're able to create these things at home. So soap nuts, you just have to soak them overnight, boil them in water the next day for half an hour once you de-seed them, and that liquid, and you can also use the soap nuts itself in the washing machine. So you can adapt all of these natural things to all of the, your appliances and the way things happen today. It's possible to do that. Even if you want to use it in a dishwasher, not the soap nuts, of course, but the liquid that you will have remaining from the soap nuts. And you can always add essential oils if you want, a stronger fragrance. But when you usually mix bioenzyme and soap nuts, the fragrance is pretty good, and it's a natural insect repeller. So I used to do this a year ago. I haven't done it in a while, and I'm planning to go back to it. So I'm going to document my journey. So I'll share that as well. So it'll give you more confidence, and you all can join me maybe. Okay, so my obsession was that I want to get rid of the plastic somehow. Everything comes in plastic. It doesn't get recycled. In India, we have the highest recycling rates, but still it's pretty pathetic that so many packets, land up in landfills and oceans and the chemicals. So initially when I started this lifestyle, I used to actually send, my staff with large steel containers to the wholesalers, and from their sacks to measuring it in the containers and bringing it back home. I mean, I started with that, and fortunately now, so the second image, if you can see, that's the farmer that we've connected with. So this is how he brings the grains, the cloth bags. You give it to him the next week that he comes. You return the cloth bags, and it's light as as not as light as plastic. Okay, a little bit heavier, but he's okay because he's doing small batches every week. Then we also started, the reusable glass bottles, with him. I requested him to switch from plastic to glass, and we retain these glass bottles. Like initially, my friends and I agreed to pay a little bit extra, whatever packaging costs the difference, because it really makes a difference. We want the, wood churned oils. We want to make all of these things. We want to do them differently, so we can encourage others also, like in the circle, and help these guys also go back to a more traditional way of packaging. And these glass bottles can also be returned and again washed by them and reused again. So this is how I did it. Then comes fabrics around you. I know it's impossible to avoid polyester, spandex, nylon, because they're all petroleum based, and I'll tell you what the problem with that is. It's not like it's a devil fabric or it's, it's the worst thing, because when you're working out or swimwear, everything is polyester and everything is artificial fabrics. But the problem is that, when you start noticing, and now of course, there's lots of data available also on how microfibers from artificial fabrics have been leaching into the air. So we're breathing it. And also the microfibers, when you're washing wash your clothes from the wastewater gets eventually into the ocean, right? So the microfibers travel with the water, it comes into the fish. And if you're eating fish, or even if you're not eating fish, worse, if you're not eating meat, it's actually getting evaporated and is entering the rain cycle. And there's been enough data now, and it's very sad that it's come to this, that, something from what you're wearing, and you can't choose to not wear it. Now we're so used to these kind of fabrics, you can't do without it. And there are lots of options coming out which are much more, they're eco-friendly, polyester kind of products. Again, wet pipes, I want to just remind everybody that it's plastic. It doesn't look like plastic, but and then you get these nylon woven bags, the non-woven bags, sorry, that in the market nowadays, that's also plastic. It resembles fabric, but it's not fabric, it's plastic. So again, so if you can choose natural fabrics, if, for shopping, if you're in any way you can carry your own bag, or, send somebody, or, figure out a way, if you can avoid plastic bags, would be great. And even the nylon woven bag, non-woven bags. And when you're wearing, whatever you're wearing, if you can opt for natural fabrics, is good. These are not things that are completely possible, but whatever extent you can go. And when I travel wherever across the country, world, I make sure that I always have my steel bottle. I don't usually end up opening plastic bottles. Even if I'm traveling, I carry my own. And even at airports, I tell them that, listen, this is my career. I don't use plastic bottles, so they let me go through in the security. So I don't know how many of us will be able to do that, but I do it. Steel straw, because I have a child and he could need one. So instead of avoiding, now you don't get plastic straws, but you still get paper straws, which are equally bad for the environment. Paper products are not sustainable because papers again made by cutting down trees. We all know that. So we tend to ignore, the origin of things, to, I don't know, it's just comfortable, right? It's more convenient, but I think we need to get a little bit uncomfortable and think about these things. Cutlery, if you're traveling, I mean, I don't know, I don't use it much, but that's an option for people. So that's where I think I'll end. And if there are any questions, you all can let me know. Okay. I'll just open the chat. Yes, so Shashank, there are lots of places I can recommend. There are a couple of websites that deliver across India sesame oil, and you're absolutely right that it is diluted with palm oil and petroleum products, and it's terrible. Actually, refined oils are, I would say a little bit of a slow poison also. So if you can avoid it, it'll be really great. So you can get in touch with. If you're in Bombay, I can give you all of the contacts. If you're anywhere else, I can, help you work it out. And how does onion black seed affect? Yeah, it's fantastic. See, all of these things are mentioned in Ayurveda, so you can experiment with it depending on what ailment you have or whatever you want to fix. I think you should, try the natural options also. You'll notice. So what I have noticed is that when I use the natural shampoos, there is absolutely no scalp issues, no dandruff at all. But when I'm using a shampoo that is recommended for an anti-dandruff shampoo, basically, it gives me more dandruff than ever. So it's, it's a trap. Basically, you continue to use that product, and do you really want to continue to have a problem, or do you want to end the problem, or not have it start in the first place? And yes, I think that's good, right? Any other questions? No, pasteurized milk is not vegan milk. Pasteurized just means that, I'll just give you a technical explanation. Like, imagine there's a rod going through the, entire contents of the milk, which is heats the milk at a very high speed and a very high temperature that kills any bacteria or any germs in it. So, basically it has a longer shelf life. So it reaches your home in between 6 to 8 hours. So it won't sour, or even if it's reaching a store, it won't sour. It just increases the shelf life, but it also kills the good nutrients. Yeah, you're right. So there are lots of companies that are switching to different kinds of, or creating options. We don't have a solution for this particular issue for the hotels and the delivery systems. We are working on it. We have an engineering tie up with a company that's working on these kind of things. So yeah. For food cleaning, yeah. So I have a list ready of all of the resources, like I was saying. So I'll share that with Yuva leads, and they can forward it to all the participants. So you can start switching immediately. Yeah. Please, everybody, just go try soaking your pulses today, and then try cooking with that tomorrow. You'll notice a difference. Also, if you want to experiment, you can source organic vegetables if you're not already eating organic, like a capsicum, for instance. So get an organic capsicum, keep one in the fridge, keep one outside. Get the regular ones, keep one in, get the large, juicy, perfect ones that you get outside, and keep again one in the fridge, one outside. and label it if you want, you'll notice that the inorganic ones, the regular ones, don't rot. They will just never rot. Not in the fridge, not outside. For 1 month, you can just store a capsicum. I mean, I found that unreal. That how can something that is fresh food not rot in 3 days? How is it possible? What kind of chemicals have to be onto it that it's not rotting? So you can try 2 experiments. I think I answered all the questions. Onion seed, yeah, onion black seed oil. That's what I said, that you have to experiment with what ailment you have. I'm not Ayurveda expert. I've just been making whatever issues I've been facing, or whatever, I've made all of these switches. So if you can look up, I'll give you the resources where you can look up how you can use all of these things, like you said, like your onion seed oil, how it'll work on the scalp. I haven't tried it personally. I haven't had any issue to try it. So yeah, so I'll give you places where you can research and find out how you use it. And Rita, they again harvested a lot of chemicals. So you can find an organic certified brand. There are lots available. In fact, there's a whole website dedicated to chemical-free products. They're not packaged in any sustainable packaging, but they are completely chemical-free products in their production. So you can check that out. I'll just type it here, maybe. That's the name, Q-Trove. And any suggestion, food sector? I didn't understand this question, Manish. Yeah, that I agree. So I spoke about this, that we don't have a solution. We are working on a solution. There are lots of other companies also who are developing alternate materials that can be used and can be as cheap as plastic. We don't have a solution for the packaging that comes from the restaurants yet. We are working on it. But there are lots of other companies also. I think they'll enter the market. They'll be able to enter much before us, and they have ready solutions. All right. I hope it was informative for everybody. Yeah, I think we're good now. Correct. Prevention is better, right? He's saying something. Yeah, let me just also travel is more. So how it will affect the business is that, imagine if all consumers are so conscious of making these kind of changes. If today I'm one person doing it around here, if 10 people, 100 people start doing it, naturally it'll put a voice to the companies, right? And they can offer you products that are sustainable in every way. So they are chemical free, and packaged sustainably. So somewhere we have to make a choice, because that is your voice. More people have to follow this kind of lifestyle, and demand is good for Indian companies, I would say. This kind of sustainable lifestyle is fantastic for Atmanirbhar Bharat, because you're using all regular local products rather than international companies. And I'm not saying that we should not support the world companies, or we should only have Indian companies. It's not possible again, but I'm saying maximum, because it benefits you in so many ways. You're supporting an Indian company. You are not having chemicals in your body. Your health is better, so you're hopefully spending less on any kind of medications or ailments that you might develop later on. So why not make that change now, and not spend on medication later? And demand will be coming from the consumers. Welcome. I think we're yes, thank you. I'm very happy I took this session also. It's good to share this knowledge and put it down, you know. And I want to thank Yuva Leads also. I think Harsh is not here, but I want to thank Harsh and thank Yuva Leads for giving me this chance. Thank you. Yeah.